Shabbat Shalom. 9 days ago, I woke to crushing news that my dear friend Rabbi David Ellenson suddenly died. There were few like David Ellenson who served the Jewish people, who served really all people in so many ways. In particular, though, he was the president of Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. He was blessed with a heart whose openness and warmth surpassed his breathtaking genius. What was most remarkable about David is nowhere on his impressive CV. It was his Menschlichkeit. Google him. You will find scores and scores of tributes from rabbis, students, leaders of organizations, friends, crossing boundaries of religion, politics, Jewish ideology. Everyone agrees that this was a person who was curious about everything, but most significantly, he was curious about every single person he encountered. He saw the humanity in everyone. We need David even more now. The excruciating and brutal loss of life these past months has ignited a sense of distrust, defensiveness, and hatred that I don't recall in my lifetime. Fear has cast a veil, narrowing our views, shrinking our scope of vision. Perhaps this is why I was particularly struck by a singular verse in this week's Torah portion. Vayakar Yosef et echav v'heim lo hikiruhu. Though Joseph recognized his brothers, they didn't recognize him. Joseph and his brothers encounter each other in this week's Torah portion following 2 decades of separation. When the brothers last saw Joseph pleading to them from the bottom of a pit, he was a teenager. Now he is a husband and father. He has risen to prominence in Egypt, and he looks and sounds the part. Still, when Joseph's brothers come before him in his capacity as vizier, pleading with him to provide them with some grain during this time of famine, it seems impossible that they really don't recognize him. They who lived in the same home, shared the same history, experienced the same family entanglement. They look at their brother, and what is it they see? A stranger? Do they see him at all? I've been thinking a lot about how more and more we are neglecting to recognize each other's humanity. I don't mean humanity as an attribute of kindness or compassion. I mean something far more basic. I mean the state of being human, of something that we all share, which means that we share so much. Desires, instincts, feelings, needs. We all want safety. We all know anger. We all crave love and recognition and understanding. We all know what it is to feel pain, physical pain, and deep emotional despairing pain. With so much in common, how is that recognition slipping away? Think of how we communicate. Through screens and shorthand, complex ideas compressed into slogans that only mean what the listener or reader takes in, which is often very different from what the poster or speaker means to express. Free Palestine, stand with Israel, stop genocide. These phrases and so many others like them are blockades to honest and productive exchange. Instead, they push us further apart from one another. The same is true of pictures, memes, and videos. They circulate with rapid-fire speed, picking up intensity, feeding on fear and growing it. For example, I was horrified when I saw the viral clip of 3 university presidents refusing to say, while being questioned by Representative Elise Stefanik, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates their school policies on bullying and harassment. I texted a few of my relatives expressing my shock and upset. My brother, a university professor at an elite university, asked me if I had seen the entire hearing or just the clip. And then he sent me an op-ed by Michelle Goldberg encouraging people to do just that. So I did. I watched the whole thing. Bottom line, I still thought their answers were clumsy, were highly problematic. They could have and should have done better. And I now understand how they might have gotten into a position which led them to those responses that they would later regret. I saw the entirety of what came before, the nuance of questions that were asked prior that would reference answers that they gave. And also, while I have never been in a comparable situation, there were pieces of what they experienced that feel familiar to me, and perhaps they would be to you. I can understand a sense of panic, of feeling overwhelmed, of trying so hard to get things right that you get things wrong, of following advice of others, of being so careful about every word that I'm not sure I'm saying what I mean. I know that when others are watching me, I get even more nervous, and you throw in some cameras, and that's going to make things harder. Now, it's possible that as I say this, some of you are having an uncomfortable reaction. Maybe what you're hearing is that your rabbi is making apologies for anti-Semitism. If you are having a rush of anger or hurt or shock, I am asking you to hold it, along with what you know of me to be true, and if you don't know me yet, what you might surmise by my position standing up here on this pulpit. That I am a person who has a deep love for Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, for the land of Israel, Eretz Yisrael. That I am a person who has dedicated her life to Judaism, who speaks out against anti-Semitism and hate of all kinds. I am asking you to do what I am trying to do, and it is not easy. Hold 2 things at once. When I see or I hear or I read words that trigger a strong response in me, I am trying to also hold the humanity of the person who was the source of them. I knew nothing about these university presidents before they became headlines. But what I should have paused to consider, even before texting my brother, or reading that piece by Goldberg, or watching the entire hearing, is that in all likelihood, these people were not rabid anti-Semites who didn't care if mobs on campus threatened destruction to Jews, nor were they likely people who condoned anti-Semitism or calls to violence. Now, none of this means that there isn't Jew hatred on college campuses. There is anti-Semitism in every crevice and cranny of our world. Anti-Semitism is a real and serious threat, and that is why it is so important that we parse and examine and debate policy and ideology and consequences. I'm suggesting that when we hear a bit of something that is shocking, something that triggers an immediate response that stems from valid fears, that we pause, that we don't hit send or circulate, that we don't immediately make up our mind about the other person, that we approach our feelings and those words and that human being with curiosity. Now let me share with you a heartening exchange that happened at McGill University last month. A Jewish law student was feeling very vulnerable. The grandson of Holocaust survivors, he was traumatized from the Hamas massacre and fearful from anti-Semitic incidents on campus. He decided to start wearing clothes with the IDF insignia. One day a cap, another day a sweatshirt, another day a jacket. He did this as a sign of solidarity with Israelis and as a gesture to help other frightened Jews on campus feel safe to know that he was expressing his Judaism, his pride in being Jewish, his pride in his connection to Israel. And so if they were feeling that and didn't feel like they could express it, they could talk to him. A Palestinian student had a different reaction. He responded to the IDF insignias with fear. He sees it as a symbol of violence, as a threat, one that is directly affecting his family and his people. He didn't feel comfortable approaching his classmate, especially because they didn't know each other so well, so he decided to write his classmate an open letter in the school paper expressing why this troubled him. His letter concluded, "I trust you to engage with me in good faith, because that trust is a core part of living together in a learning community. Whether anything good will come from this trust remains to be seen, but extending my humanity to you is all I can do." A few days later, the two students kind of ran into each other in the library. They acknowledged each other and they decided to sit and talk. They spent over an hour together, taking the time to hear each other's perspective. They still don't agree on much, and their disagreement remains profound and serious, but they understand each other better. And now they feel they can continue the conversation or choose not to, but simply function as classmates with a sense of respect and regard for one another. This exchange reminded me of a poem by the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish. It's called "He is Quiet and So Am I." He sips his tea with lemon while I drink coffee. That's the difference between us. Like me, he wears a wide striped shirt, and like him, I read the evening paper. He doesn't see my secret glance. I don't see his secret glance. He's quiet, and so am I. He asks the waiter something. I ask the waiter something. I don't say to him, "The sky today is clear and blue." He doesn't say to me, "The sky today is clear." He's watched and the one watching, and I'm watched and the one watching. I hum the melody of a song, and he hums the melody of a similar song. I wonder, is he the mirror in which I see myself? And I turn to look in his eyes, but I don't see him. I hurry from the cafe. I think, maybe he's a killer, or maybe a passerby who thinks I am a killer. He's afraid, and so am I. If the only place where we can meet, where we can recognize each other's humanity, is an experience of fear, that is enough. Fear is an emotion common to every person and can be a starting point to a conversation, to a new consideration, to a relationship. It also might just be a starting place for us to see others and ourselves with greater clarity. Rabbi David Ellenson was buried on Sunday. His Israeli friend, Dr. Michael Marmer, flew into New York to eulogize this man who was so dear to him. Rabbi Marmer ended his eulogy with a call for us to continue David's legacy of recognizing the humanity in others. And I offer it to all of us now. He said, let's learn something new. Let's mobilize. Let's celebrate each other's strengths. Let's partner. Let's stand up for justice. Let's disagree. Let's be with people in times of distress. Let's cry. Let's do all of this from a deep place of love and not as a tactic. Let's prefer nuance and mess to slogans and messianism. Let's make Judaism a Judaism that is urbane and humane and germane. Let's be good humans. To do this is to create light in dark times. That poem that I shared with you by Mahmoud Darwish could have easily been written by an Israeli, and that's part of what makes it so powerful. As we still let the power of its words and lessons sink in, I would like us now to take in another one of his poems, also something that could have easily been written by an Israeli. In fact, it was set to music by Mira Awad, a Palestinian citizen of Israel, and the English translation was written by her dear friend, Jewish-Israeli singer Noah. They sang this song together here about 5 or 6 years ago in the Lowenstein Auditorium at an event for Seeds of Peace, an organization that says if we start from a place of understanding and recognizing each other's humanity, great things can grow from those seeds. I invite us to watch it now. There's a section where they invite the audience to sing along. You should feel comfortable singing with them.
So we're gonna do a song called Think of Others by Palestinian late poet Mahmoud Darwish. I discovered this poem recently, actually, which is funny because I know most of Mahmoud Darwish's writings, but I'm glad I found it because I think this poem encapsulates everything that I believe in life. You're going to hear it first in Arabic. Patience, because then you're going to hear it in English. وأنت تعد فطورك فكر بغيرك لا تنسى قوت الحمام وأنت تخوض حروبك فكر بغيرك من يطلبون السلام وأنت تسدد فاتورة الماء فكر بغيرك من يرضعون الغمام وأنت تعود إلى بيتك فكر بغيرك لا تنسى شعب الخيام وأنت تنام وتحسن الكواكب فكر بغيرك من لم يجد حيزا للمنام وأنت تحرر نفسك بالاستعارات فكر بغيرك من فقدوا حقه في الكلام وأنت تفكر بالآخرين البعيدين فكر بنفسك قل ليتني شمعة في الظلام ليتني شمعة في الظلام. Now it's my privilege to invite to stage two dear friends of mine, Gildor and Noah.
When you prepare your evening meal, think of how the others feel. Don't forget to feed the hungry dove. When you wage your wars with guns, think of all the other ones, those who still believe in peace and love. When you pay for others and their plight, those who live in camps and dream of home. As you lay your head to rest, dreaming deep, remember those who have no place to sleep. As you let your words run free, rhyme and tongue in cheek, remember those who lost their very right to speak. And as you think of others far away, think of yourself and say, if only I could be a candle in the dark, I wish I were a candle in the dark. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark. Now you're used to it by now that you're gonna sing with us, right? Right? So we're gonna start from the Arabic. ليتني 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 شمعة في الظلام. I'll do the second part. ليتني 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 شمعة في الظلام. One more time. ليتني شمعة في الظلام. How about Hebrew? لو حييتي لو حييتي لو حييتي نبقى لو حييتي لو حييتي لو حييتي نبقى one more time. حييتي لو حييتي لو حييتي نبقى and the English again. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark.
If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark.
Any language you choose.
If only I could be, if only I could be
ليتني
candle in
في الظلام.
the dark.
My candle in the dark, Noah. What a beautiful translation into English you did for Mahmoud Darwish. It's amazing.
What a
Thank you for
beautiful
that.
everything you do. It's true.